So, you can see me here. Uh, you know, my ability to interpret, like I said, these books go so far as my ability as a generic Captain Planet, a time, but specifically a time travel Captain Planet, a time traveling Captain Planet, uh, and someone who finds time travel to actually be a healthy activity instead of an unhealthy activity. Uh, but I can fight for what I think is right too during this time too. Is Matthew 24:36. Nobody's bound by any force that they cannot control themselves. Everybody can control the forces that they are controlling. And one of the forces that I am being revealed to now. So yesterday I was revealed these four horsemen of the apocalypse, and then all of them being neo-Nazi to Nazi, with going backwards in time through via time travel. But if there's one thing you know about the universe right now is that nobody knows how to do time travel but me and my clone drone and my clone drones that the CIA and the NSA and CERN have been trying to hack open themselves. Uh, so this video is, like I said, it's about how you got to actually really interpret everything. You've got to interpret. You've got to use. Uh, you got to use uh, the key, the time traveling Captain Planet. The code word is time traveling Captain Planet. That will help. So that'll help bring clarity to your world about what's going on. Uh, and so, you know, the New King James, so time traveling Captain Planet. That's how you can know time travel. Those cloning drones are from the future. Those aren't aliens. That's not alien technology. That's time travel technology from a human, not an alien. Uh, and then those connect to 9/11. They connect to some of these to bilingualism. They connect to jokes. Uh, they connect to historical points, and they connect to time travel. Absolutely, it absolutely does. Uh, and all that stuff, and the fact that they're called flying saucers is, I've been trying to run a potluck for the past 6 years straight. One of the reasons why I'm in the predicament I'm in, being in a nursing home, is because I've been attacked. I've been trying to get a potluck going for the past 6 years, but with a little bit extra wisdom, I know that God protected me with the time travel, because that stuff is time travel. There's enough time to even be talking about time travel right now. That's a good new. It's good. It's a good feeling when you're talking about something like time travel during this period that you think is just the very end of all time, because of what's going on and how much corruption there is. If you had any idea what was going on with the government and the governments of the world, the powers that be. Uh, but it's just that we're talking about time travel right now, but we're also talking about very much this age of AD fully realized, which is the day of the Lord. And actually, if you start reading through Ezekiel and Revelation, and you want to start interpreting the stuff, one of the keys, like I said, the key to looking at it is the looking glass would be uh, my story and my testimony, and my looking at it through my eyes. The time traveling Captain Planet, the person who can tell you right now how much time there probably is. Just a guy, just any old guy who could tell you how much time there was until the day of the Lord, because he can tell you how much famine there is. He can tell me how much pestilence there is. He can tell you how much that though the age of that kind of stuff is over. And even war, honestly, even the age of war is kind of over, as I can do very good peace. I can bring in a lot of peace. We can fight on the Mars beginning. We can fight on this infinite plane for fun with a respawn. But we can do peace. The ABCs of fighting, but you can do peace with it. So, reading through Revelation is, I don't know if you can see my face. Reading through Revelation is about looking through my eyes to understand the codex, the words, which is time traveling Captain Planet. That'll help you decode. But then when you're decoding it, what you're going to see is the Lord Jesus Christ and a lot of him. And there is some speculation in my own mind, in my own world, because I thoroughly anticipate seeing myself in here quite a bit, because like I said, I'm the first person that I know of that can really interpret almost the entire book of Revelation for you. Just because I can tell you that after I was done with my homework, there'd be so much peace on the planet that you wouldn't even notice that any of this stuff was ever true. And you're telling me that there's no way for me to predict when to stop. Well, I mean, I don't know. I'm almost there. You can almost say that you don't like. Let's just say I get done by the end of 2020. By the end of 2021, if it's still not there, we're going into this whole other field of ages, this whole other age of ages, which is this age of Christ fully realized. But right before this will be the age of Christ fully realized, anywhere from 2020 and whenever I finish my homework on, and then until he comes back for the millennial reign. And when the millennial reign comes, I think we're all just naturally do what the disciples did around Jesus, which is just kind of just sit at his feet and see what in the world he's talking about. What are you talking about right now? We just went through all this stuff. We just figured out all this stuff in the Bible, and order and chaos and love and power and faith and science and physics and Albert Einstein and all this stuff. War. Let's figure all this stuff out about war and freedom. Now what are we talking about? Jesus, what are we talking about now? What are we talking about? Where's the philosophy? What are we talking about these days? Well, that's what I'll be saying. And when he comes back for the millennial reign, absolutely. That's what Eric will be saying. What are we talking about, man? What are we talking about right now? What's interesting? You just did the Gospels, and you're back again. It was this really big deal. What are we talking about, man? What are we talking about? Let's go. What are we getting into? He's at least the best magician you've ever seen, if not actually just one of the most magnificent minds you could ever sit around and listen to. And for having a personality, a predictable personality, and all that stuff, he loves and he will do the stuff. He's the sacrificial Lord. You think it almost wasn't even about this side of reality. It was about what we do after this. But I'm not. I am just personally myself. I'll always throw my opinion out there. Is that my opinion, my facts? I can't give you enough facts to tell you how much time there is. But my opinion is always going to be that there was not nearly enough time to do two things. One is to punish Truman, and then two is to open up the other 90% of your brain. Like they say, you only use 10% of your brain. It makes so much sense to me. Why? It's because there's so much stuff that you don't even understand, that you don't even know was possible in this world. I'd have to say that the humans have only opened up 10% of this universe. Boy, it just would be just such a shame. Is all I'm saying, is that if we didn't open up the rest of the 90% of this noble universe. And it's just like what you think humans are actually probably only using 5% of their brains. 5%, maybe 10, maybe still 10, but I don't know. It's just that Neil deGrasse Tyson will tell you that American science only has comprehended 5% of the noble universe. and our brains are sitting at that nice nifty 10%, which is just nice and close to 5. And that's just how much stuff that's just how far we are with advancement itself. So it just would be such a shame to cut it all short right now because of 1 or 2 people. It's not worth it. It's not worth cutting it short for anybody. It's worth cutting it short. It's worth cutting it short like this because it's worth cutting it short for this reason that is that if Truman is hell bent on defeating me and he can't do it until the point where he's just going to kill everybody, or if if Truman was just going to kill everybody. I mean, I guess with his corruption and he was going to kill everybody's spirit with all of his corruption. And that's one reason to end it for sure. Yeah. If Jesus is saying that somehow if they went Truman they'd never go back, that's pretty amazing. Because it's like I said about just this Truman corruption, it really makes no sense why anybody would do it in the first place. And then, but you do even say in the second place is like, I mean, I have time travel and I have an amazing ability to communicate the facts and truth to you. So are you waiting for something, dude?
No, I don't.
Huh?
What's your name? I don't know what to do.
You keep going in and out. You need something?
A sandwich?
You need a sandwich? Go ask him for a sandwich.
That's what I was going to do when he left.
All right. So anyway, so you gotta see the facts where they lie. I don't think Truman actually himself possesses the ability to get to actually cause everyone to actually blaspheme the Lord too many times. But maybe he does. I mean, maybe he does. I mean, I think what he has is, I think he has the ability to get people to hate him immensely. I think he has the ability to get people to hate him immensely, and then it's hilarious because he himself is like not even is like somehow like it's not perfectly obvious that he is himself the Antichrist. But as if you can see what he is doing to all in his whole day as he is. But he's hiding that. And he hides it behind sugar and calmness, sugar and ice cream. He hides it behind sugar and ice cream. You think he's up to just sugar and ice cream if you just ask him. But if you look past what he's doing all day, is that he is angling himself against God and against God's people. And he is trying to get people to blaspheme the Lord, even just by. But the thing is, right now, the only thing he's got is by paying them. You can't even pay somebody to blaspheme this hard, really, honestly. This stuff is stuck in this position, but it's just I personally don't think that he has it in him to have already have started his. But he has to have just been started. He had to have publicly blasphemed me since 2012. And if he's been publicly if he's strong enough to publicly blaspheme me since 2012, then maybe he is strong enough. And then that's what I've been saying is those are the factors. If Truman can say that he's been if Truman can say that he's been publicly blaspheming me since 2012, and then he can say that in front of other people. It doesn't matter if he says it to me. It's a matter of if he can say that to other people. Is that like, hey, do you want to stalk Dickie? Oh, blah, blah. You want to stalk Dickie? It's just, let's start the blasphemy right here. I can pay you. I can even pay you. Let's stalk Dickie. I can pay you. And then even worse is I have a reason. Is I know secrets about him and stuff. He deserves this, and he needs this. He needs this stuff. He needs us to stalk him because he's kind of a pussy or something. And there's this. There you go, right there. There's just the start of the blasphemy chain right there. That's easy as pie. But then he's gonna get my friends. He's gonna get my acquaintances. He's gonna say, "Hey, you want to stalk Dickie? As I can pay you. He's a pussy. He deserves this." That's how you start to blaspheme, and then somehow he gets the whole world to do it. I don't see it. I don't see how that's the fear that's what God says about Matthew 24:20 or Matthew 24:22 and Matthew 24:36. But the Matthew 24:22 is that like the days were cut short. The days are going to be cut short. But like what like the days like the times or something will be cut short. And it could be, like I said, like it could just be what the middle of what I'm into, and then it could be with he's cutting off this 14.8 billion year party. And then why? Because everyone's gonna die. Everyone's gonna die unless God came right now. I don't know. I don't see how that's I myself. That's why I said so. My opinion is 14.8 billion years plus, because I'm pretty good at this. I'm actually pretty good. I come at this and I have good answers, and I can just keep an eye on it. Democracy can keep an eye on stuff. And then it does seem like I'm pretty confident that I always do end up touching the time travel too. So it seems like one of the moves I just sunk it right in my thing is just like the grandfather paradox is like, I think is the paradox of you being able to actually tell people even once, like, hey, you want to stalk Dickie? Can you stalk Dickie for me? You want to get a dab of this? You want to stalk Dickie for me? I'll pay you. And then he deserves it. I know stuff about him. You start on a trail of backstabbing, and you just start backstabbing me until people do it. I don't really understand it. I don't think, and then you're gonna do that on a time traveler. I don't think you're gonna be able to get that done on a time traveler. I mean, I have nothing but time. I mean, I could at least have said that I warned you, but my warning was gonna be so great. It was gonna be like, I mean, just like it was gonna be like Jonah. I'd be you could compare me to the prophet Jonah. But I wouldn't. I'm not. You don't have to call me a prophet of the Lord at all. I'm just Captain Planet with time travel. Captain Planet, Captain America with time travel. Captain America, Captain Planet with time travel. That's pretty much it. I go back and I say, here's the doxy. If you take this, you're going down for charges of 9/11 and nuking. And SARS and influenza weapons and all that. You're going to go down for Neuralink weapons and all this stuff, artificial intelligence breachings and all that. You're going to go down for all this stuff if you take this, and you're going to go down for all these corruption crimes. These are the highest neo-Nazi corruption crimes. If you do this, this is what will happen. And I'll connect the dots for you right there, because I'm about to connect the dots right now. And I'll connect the dots right now and bring it right back. Are you sure you want to proceed with this? Or are you sure you don't want to do superpowers and time travel and superpowers without going to jail? Are you sure that you want to go to jail? And then the answer is going to be a resounding no every time. You're obviously not going to do that on a time traveler. You're not going to do that on me, not with time travel. And then probably not even with it, because that is, like, again, it is really, really, really ridiculous. That is really ridiculous. Like I compare it to Grant Talon. Just imagining myself stalking Grant Talon. That's what this is how it's been going. There were stalkers and all this stuff, but it rearranges because it makes no sense. Why are you guys wasting your perfectly healthy lives to do this perfectly ridiculous thing? I know that he's not paying. I know he's not paying you a realistic amount. And if he is, he's paying you millions off the printing press, and you got to be thinking, boy, I just love my life just a little bit greater than to actually go down this stupid cavern of Antichrist. Do I love my life just a little bit better than this? Am I attached to my freedom and my safety just a little bit better than to actually, then to take money straight off the printing press for this stuff and think that that was just going to be perfectly okay. I mean, how many of you were expecting to be CIA? How many of you expected to be CIA overnight? Just one day you're CIA, and why? Why, dude? That's impossible. Without going down this hole of this rabbit hole of corruption, of absolute corruption. So let me just start reading Ezekiel. In the last video I started reading from Revelation. Revelation is like this: is that it starts off with a huge confidentiality chain, and it starts with God the Father, Jesus Christ, and then John of Patmos. Which he does say it's his. I think they don't know who John of Patmos is. Is he John in Patmos, and he says that he was the brother, but you don't know. I don't really know. I don't really know who John Patmos is, but it's this whole confidentiality chain that it's like it is God the Father, Jesus Christ, one of Jesus' angels, and John of Patmos. And it is like I said, it's like I said before, is like I don't know where I'm at in this stuff, Captain Planet, Captain America, Captain Planet, but is that you might see my title. You might see my title in there. Uh, and my title was, Captain America, Captain Planet. You might see my title somewhere in there. You might see my footprint in there somewhere. You might just see all the stuff that I'm telling you in there. You might not see my name in there. You might not see me specifically in there. You might not even see me as well as maybe even some people that I do know and care about very much. So, and then I'll get this started by going like this way: is that uh, last couple of videos I talked about the four horsemen apocalypse have passed, and the Nazi effort is already extinguished because the last effort was coronavirus because they're so damn tricky and corrosive, and ridiculous. And everybody hated coronavirus. Everybody thought it was a scam. Everybody thought coronavirus was a scam. Everybody did. Everybody thought coronavirus was a scam. They thought that one was weird. They didn't even think H1N1 was weird, but they thought this one was weird. People thought this coronavirus was weird. It was called coronavirus, too. I don't care if it comes from SARS. Uh, it was called coronavirus, and it was weak. It was nothing. A lot of people died, but like in the end, it's like I saved all those people from death and the influenza. I'm going to learn how to cure cancer and all this stuff too. I'm going to learn how to cure cancer. So, uh, you know, uh, yeah, it's just yeah, come. But anyway, uh, yeah, that's how this goes. So let's let's start reading. So Revelation, you need time. You need the lens of time travel to read through Revelation. You need to realize that first of all, it talks about the very first part of the Revelation says that it starts with the revelation that God gave to Jesus in the future, in literally in the end, and then the very first verse of Revelation comes from the very actual end of time because it says that God the Father gives his message to Jesus, and then that would be the initiation. It's time, and it's pretty cool. And it's like I said, it's this whole confidentiality chain. It's between God the Father and then God the Son, and then he relays it to his Spirit and his angels. I think it says his angels in there. Yeah, by his angel unto his servant John. The revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him to shew unto his servants things much must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John. His angel, whoever Jesus' angel is. So, uh, more to come on all that stuff. All this stuff will be revealed, and the whole heavenly orders and all this stuff. But I'll tell you right now is that uh, the hierarchy goes like this. The hierarchy goes uh, God the Father, and then the Son, and then the Holy Spirit, and then those all being one, but the Father being on top of them all. That's the only one you maybe know that is greater. Uh, and then you know what is that it is his heavenly host and his order, and but then it's his church. It's his church. Uh, this heavenly order was created to serve man, and man was created to serve God. Uh, so when it comes to when you get to the hierarchy levels, I don't even know what they all are, but it's God, the Trinity, all of his powers and dominions right there next to him, uh, and then from there is order, his order of people, and I'll tell you right now, I edify just fine, but uh, I'm thinking that my position in here is really as a humble president, is that there are these other people that deserve space, their own, like Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein deserves his own space in his own place. Ezekiel deserves his own space in his own place. Uh, all these people, but the thing is that nobody connects all of these people except for God and and God and perhaps the time traveling president. Being that like someone actually had to save the Old Testament Gentiles. So someone had to relay the message of Christ to the Old Testament Gentiles. This Mars beginning was going to do that. That was one way he was going. If you don't actually know what's going to happen, if you don't know that Jesus is going to go back in time and proselytize himself to these people. I don't know. It might not work like that. It might work like this, where my Mars beginning was going to proselytize for Christ just fine. Uh, so like I said, so be careful when you're reading Revelation, because there really are a few players actually besides just Jesus, and one of them is this witness John, who is writing this stuff down, and he's witness testifying, and he's witness testifying visions. And then soon into you talking about these visions, kind of in the middle of you talking about these visions, he starts talking about these. Basically, I'm just going to skip straight to this for right now. He starts talking about these four living creatures. Now, I kind of thought that like those four living creatures might represent Mickey the Animaniac, Sonic, and Felix. But if actually, I mean, honestly, the thing is about them is that they proclaim the name of the living God. Proclaim the name of God. And if Mickey and Felix and all them were going to do that, it'd be because I did it. And I don't really know if that's what I'm honestly going to do. Just like I've been saying with all this other stuff, like you got to do this stuff. I don't know if I'm going to make Mickey praise God's name. Mickey can just die. It's okay if Mickey just dies and gets old and gets irrelevant. Or you can make you can make it so that everything that Mickey says backwards praises God's name or whatever, like satanically or whatever. That'd be kind of funny. Uh, you should start playing Mickey's stuff backwards to see if he starts playing praising God's name backwards. That'd be some pretty weird messed up stuff. Uh, but yeah, that's what I was saying, is that the as this stuff gets revealed to Captain Planet, who's like a process of eliminating all this stuff in here, and he's saying like, well, for one, is that the ancient church of Thyatira hasn't even existed for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. The ancient church of Thyatira hasn't even existed for hundreds of years, and you think that it's the literal word of God. Well, you're talking about somebody who is probably from the future, who goes all the way back here after I invent time travel, and gets judged by God. Otherwise, if you look at it the same way, is that the book of Revelation started back in AD 300, where Thyatira is from, and uh, and God's just been holding the book of Revelation just kind of open this whole time. It's actually been open ended this whole time. Instead of it actually itself being kind of closed ended, it was really something that nobody was going to experience until the time was right. It would be revealed to you that this was what it was, and then this is what Captain Planet does: is he reveals it to you. He says it's now because there's Jesus says the signs of the end times. It's like wars and rumors of wars, famines, pestilence, this stuff, great distress. Uh, the temple's gonna get completely knocked down for some reason. It's just gonna get trampled over. It just wasn't about any of that stuff, dude. And then when Christ says that, I'm gonna start reading through this stuff, but when Christ says he's gonna deliver a nation, that's probably not America. That's probably the very rebellious nation of Israel. Uh, Rebelling against, I mean, just the one guy that he was different than everybody else. It was Jesus. He was Jesus. He was God. Uh, he was the Son of God, dude. He was the Son of God. He will not be joining us in this party until it is time. And that's going to be such a big deal. That everybody's going to be expecting this 14.8 billion. Jesus might cut it off short. And it's like he said, like, if I didn't cut it off short, everybody would have died. I don't understand really why he'd think that, because I was going to do a pretty good job. My cloning drone was going to keep everything pretty clean and safe. And then it was going to also only do what is basically what these four creatures actually say that it does do, which is it turns your eyes to the Lord. And so we'll talk about this. The four living creatures have this one distinctive characteristic, which is that uh, they have this one distinctive characteristic, which is that they bathe themselves in this all-seeing eye thing, and they proclaim the name of the Lord. And that's very characteristic of my cloning drone, which is all-seeing. My cloning drone is all-seeing. Matter of fact, while I'm at it, why don't I just go ahead and do my one tweet while I'm eating the cookie? And I'm gonna say, my cloning, the probability of those four living creatures being anyone other than maybe these four women that I've been kind of trying to holler at here is actually kind of low. I'm kind of hollering at them, I'm kind of not. But uh, the probability of it being anyone else, for it actually being something else, is actually low because of how this is balanced. You want to talk about four distinctive people that really love this cloning drone. And then the cherry, the wheels and all that stuff described in Ezekiel and the visions and all that stuff, it's kind of metaphorical because it's a flying saucer. And it's like God's showing this guy kind of a dream kind of thing, but those things are themselves wicked. And I've seen them with my own eyes. I've seen it with my own eyes. They're wicked. They're wicked. Uh, what was I doing? So I don't know where I am at. I don't know where I'm at in all this stuff. But it'll all work out just fine, dude. Even if it was just this would be magnificent. That I somehow am capable of creating weapons that work compatibly, highly compatible with the Lord Jesus Christ. And they have no problem professing His name and His wonderful majesty. And then that being something that I think that is what they would do, is that was their upbringing. And it's probably, so it's like I said, it's either those four living creatures they can represent. It's just once you start process of eliminating, you know that there weren't going to be other apocalypses. There won't even be one apocalypse. And the Armageddon apocalypse and all that stuff is posed in such a almost a hyperbolic way, honestly, because there's 1,000 years of Christ. There's really nothing to freaking freak out about at all. Okay, I need water, bro. Nope. Need cereal, obviously. Yeah, some nice sustenance here. Uh, so, so these four living creatures. These are things. If you read the passages, if you read Ezekiel 1 or whatever I said, Revelation. Oh, that's what I was going to do. Get this Twitter thing going. I was going to send something about this earlier, but there's no time like the present right now. I was just going to say something about how the four living creatures are probably themselves. They can probably become predictable. That the next thing that is predictable, and they're mentioned many times throughout the books, and it could possibly be that it is God's response to the four horsemen of the apocalypse, is these four living creatures, and them just being all four of my wives that I have not yet married. If you can imagine how miserable that is, that's quite miserable. But these would be all four of my wives, and then at least two of them being already married, and they're going to get a divorce, and then hop into my lap, and then one of them is wandering off into nowhere land. She killed herself, and then the other one is probably just sitting around, just like in some precarious place, just waiting to, just in a state of potential waiting to watch all these videos. And then the other two are already married. But these would be the four living creatures of the it'd be the four living creatures of the apocalypse who proclaim God's name. It's just really interesting, and all of the symbolism and symbology and all that stuff, it's just the way it's one of the ways that I understand. Oh, here we go. Oh, I didn't do it. I guess I don't know, where is it? Instability. So okay. So yeah, I was saying the four living creatures. I'm about to tweet this right now. Is the four living creatures of Revelation 4 would now be either my parents and siblings, which would be four people going hard to my omnipotent cloning drone, all seeing eyes. And then that's also talked about in the very, very, very first chapter of uh, Ezekiel, and specifically in the first chapter, in the 18th verse. It describes the rims on this magnificent camera, and it had the camera in the all-seeing eyes. It's a satellite camera, and just the time traveling Captain Planet knew that this was one of the things that the world needed in 2020 was a big nasty boy camera that can see everything. All seeing, it can see nasty boy everything, but it needs to be controlled by democracy. And it needs to bring in the age of the day of the Lord, and to eliminate crime, and to do the work of good and justice, versus being ignorant and not looking into the light. Is look into the light. Don't be ignorant and not look at and shy away from the light. Look into the light and cleanse yourself of impurities. We will watch ourselves in our public spaces. We will not watch ourselves in our private spaces. It's up to you to keep your private space, working in an order. It's up to the government to keep all space working in an order. And this nasty boy camera will help keep all things working in an order. So let's start. So let's open up the book of Ezekiel now, which, like I said, it actually itself starts with these 4 living creatures. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let me pour some of the cereal. And like I said, the likelihood of the 4 living creatures being even themselves something that comes from me is so great because of the symbolism of my nasty boy camera, which is actually one of these cloned drone time machines. And that Ezekiel describes them with wheels. They have wheels. It's that they time travel. They time travel. That is magnificent scientific discovery and interpretation of the universe, that it's even possible. Because, like you said, the grandfather paradox is a great paradox. But if you've ever thought about it, it's just like any other paradox. Is that if you want to change the color of your skin, okay. But you're going to have to change a fundamental piece of yourself, and that means you're going to need to re-support yourself with a whole other thing, because everything has design. If you want to kill your grandfather, that's fine, but you're going to have to replace your grandfather with somebody, because everybody has grandparents. So who's your grandfather? Who's going to be your creator? If your grandfather is not your creator, who's going to be your creator? You are. You'll be your own creator. Okay, get to work. Try to see if you don't just undo killing your grandfather. It'd be a lot less heartache. Just undo killing your grandfather. One of the things about the 4 living creatures, know is that they have what there would be a lot of work for them to undo that they can't undo if they don't get started right now. It's about how that's how the grandfather paradox works. So, that's pretty good, right? It's logic. You have to just complete the whole circle of logic. You want to kill your grandfather? How do you solve for your creation? And you're God. You're out there killing your grandfather. You're God. You tell me, how are you gonna replace your grandfather? Hmm. You have work to do. Otherwise, you're gonna know. I mean, you're just gonna notice that you gotta stop yourself from killing your gosh darn grandfather. Don't worry about killing your grandfather. It's confusing enough as it is. Uh, so let's start reading through Ezekiel. Sorry that I'm eating. It's just my medication is it makes me really tired and really hungry. Well, as I keep proving these things, I don't think I need to keep taking all this medicine all the time, man. So Ezekiel 1, Ezekiel's inaugural vision. The inaugural vision stands for the age of Christ fully realized into his millennial reign. It's the inauguration of Jesus as Lord. To like as like an official piece of business. He was Lord, but it's like this Mars beginning is his full official. It's when like I said, if you think you're God, for one you got to get past me. I don't think I'm God, but I can kick your ass in every way, any way you want. Pretty soon I'll be able to kick your ass any way you want, any way you want me to kick it. So you gotta get past me. And I had to figure this stuff out on my own. And you know how I figured it out? By being in the Word and being in the Word of Jesus. Um, and all that stuff, and all my government suggestions and treat your neighbor and all that stuff came from the simplicity and power. All came from Jesus. And so myself was going to praise God, and then Mars, the beginning of stuff, was going to praise God, and it was going to be really fun. It'd be really colorful and really fun. So, yeah. Just granola and milk. And in a tight spot, I got a nice tongue depressor. You know, so these four living creatures, uh, you know, it's just we can start maybe process eliminate for these four living creatures. What four people? Can you expect to see out in public, not behind bars, not behind shadows, but in public? What four entities do you expect to be bathed in this all-seeing technology and advancement, and perhaps spiritual advancement? Because I can get you here too. I think. Oh, maybe my wives. Maybe. Uh, I can tell you a whole lot about this stuff, and it was about how it came down to Jesus, and it's all about Jesus. But it's all about the people, and the way that Jesus is ushered in. And my thinking is that, you know, by categorizing World War III as Armageddon. And the completer of the book of Revelation, and a perfect segue for Christ, but I still don't think it's time to do it. Um, I'm still doing this with a little bit of haste because I'm hungry now. I don't have time to drop this video up and keep undoing it. So I'm going to do something kind of real and kind of radical. Is I'm going to put myself on the spot uh, for all of this clone drone stuff. And if I can't interpret so I'm just going to start reading through the book of Ezekiel. And the deal is if I cannot, I should be starting a new video, but I won't. I don't have to. It's just that's how it works. If I cannot I'm going to start reading through Ezekiel, and then probably about a quarter way through, halfway through, but until the end. If I can't read through the whole book of Ezekiel and not explain the whole thing to you, I'm probably blowing smoke up your what you know what in the first place. I'm probably just blowing too much smoke, but it's just let me just tell you is that like I understand the dream. Why dreams? It's like it's a level of confidentiality. Is that it's all kind of metaphorical, but it's just God being God and humans behaving properly around God with the dreams, and God giving you what you need in His plan and all that stuff through means of secrecy and confidentiality, and it's nice. It's very nice. But the light works a certain way too. Is that you should be able to uphold in the light. The light's a good tester. But confidentiality and secrecy things being that way, that is a weapon. If you can use it too. But the strongest person is going to be the strongest person in the light. That is how it works. You get more consistency from a person who works all the time in the light than a person who only works in the shadows. So remember that. But here we go. So I'll start reading Ezekiel 1. This is we'll go King James Version. Because that would be Peter's version. And all this stuff, like I said, it's a dream crypticism. It's that nobody really knows what this stuff is until it is time. So is it time now to understand this stuff? Well, this is what we're going to put me on the spot and see what I think. And you can test if what I know and all this stuff by if I'm right about this. My theory is that it is time to be reading this book now. So Ezekiel 1. So now it came to pass in the 13th year, in the 4th month. This is Ezekiel 1. And the 5th day of the month, as I was among the captives up by the river of Shibar, that the heavens were opened, and I saw visions from God in the 5th day of the month, which was the 5th year of King Jeloshin's captivity. The word of the Lord came expressly unto Ezekiel the priest, the son of Buzi, in the land of Chaldeans by the river of Shibar. And the hand of the Lord was upon him. I believe that means Ezekiel. And behold, and I looked, and behold, a whirlwind came out of the north, a great cloud, and a fire enfolding itself, and a brightness was about it, and out of the midst thereof as the color of amber, out of the midst of the fire. Also out of the midst thereof came the likeness of 4 living creatures, and then there you are. Verse 5, right away, in Ezekiel.